Hey pharmacist! My next few videos are going to focus on cannabis since it's such a topic of interest lately. And what I thought I would do is start with the very basics. Number one, terminology. I thought it would be important to start with talking about the difference between the word cannabis and the word marijuana. So the difference is that cannabis is a more broad term and it refers to the plants and all the species within that, which I will get to in one of my next points. Marijuana, on the other hand, is referring to the dried flower that you normally see when you think of cannabis, that dried plant with those active ingredients in it. So just remember that the word cannabis is referring to the plant species themselves, and marijuana is the dried flowers and leaves that are produced from these plants. Number two, species. It's important to talk about the different types of cannabis plants that exist because you will likely hear these terms used. So the three most common flowering cannabis plants are Cannabis sativa, Cannabis indica, and Cannabis ruderalis. Cannabis sativa and Cannabis indica are the two most popular ones that are grown. Now there are some generalizations about these two subspecies. And the first is that sativa is associated with more of an energizing effect, whereas indica is more associated with a relaxing effect. So think of indica in the couch. However, most of the plants that are grown are actually hybrids of the two. So it's more important to look at the chemical composition of the plants and the concentrations of these chemicals within them and how it affects the user itself. So know the subspecies, but just remember that one type doesn't necessarily equate to certain effects versus another. Number three, females. I found this one particularly interesting because if you look at what's grown or farmed, it's the female plants that are of interest and not the male plants. This is because the female plants produce flowers with a very high concentration of the cannabinoids or the chemicals that we're looking for either medicinal or recreational use. So the male plants just don't have what users are looking for, or at least enough of it. Number four, flowers. Now I want you to take a moment and just think, if I were to ask you what cannabis looks like, what comes to your mind? It's probably something that looks like this. So that plant with the iconic fan-like leaves. Now, this is important to mention because it's not really the leaves that growers and users are interested in. It's actually the flowers or the buds on the plants that have all the active ingredients that we're interested in. Now, I just wanted to be clear about that and make sure we're all on the same page. It's not really the leaves, it's the buds and the flowers itself. That's what's grown and that's what's harvested. Number five, trichomes. If you don't take anything from this video, remember trichomes. We just talked about the flowers, and if you look at them, they look like these hairy, fuzzy-like structures. And that's because they're covered in something called trichomes. Now, trichomes are commonly referred to hair-like structures or crystals, but what they actually are, and if you zoom into what they look like, they kind of look like little mushrooms. And what they are resin-producing glands. And these are the places and these structures are where all the chemicals are produced. So your THC and your CBD and all the aromas that are produced as part of the plant itself, they all come from this trichome. And interestingly, trichomes have an evolutionary purpose for the plant, of course, to allow it to reproduce. So I've picked a few, there's so many, but I found these ones particularly interesting. So as we know, cannabis has this aroma associated with it, and that aroma is thought to attract insects sometimes, help it pollinate, and also to help deter animals away so that they don't eat the plant. Also, as these trichomes cover the entire bud, it acts as a natural sunscreen, so protecting those UVB radiations from the sunlight from harming the plant. So they serve an evolutionary purpose, but the important part to remember is that they all come from these trichomes, these little structures that surround the plant, make them look like that, like these fuzzy, hairy things, and that's where everything's found. It's where all the chemicals are. We're going to go through what those chemicals are in the next video, so things like your THC and your CBD and your terpenes,
why decarboxylation is important, why heating is important, so on and so forth. So stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. If you do have any questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to address it in future videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye, pharmacists.